Hi everyone, thanks for joining in. This is actually take three now. We've had a few technical issues, but hopefully this is the one. Um,
This is the one. This is the one.
so really excited to have Ashley Callaghan Blunt joining us. Hi Ashley.
Hi, Jackie. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
And it's been great. We've had you as author for the day and been watching your posts throughout the day, and now I get to chat to you.
It's been super fun engaging with readers. I love your group. It's so fantastic. The energy is amazing.
So, a bit about Ashley before we start on some questions. She's the number one bestseller author of Dark Mode, a psychological thriller published in multiple territories and languages. Ashley loves connecting with readers and visiting book clubs. Ashley also co hosts James and Ashley Stay at Home, a podcast about writing, creativity, and health, and has taught creative writing across Australia. She's originally from Winnipeg in Canada, and she's lived and worked in South Korea, Peru, and Mexico before moving to Gadigal land in Australia. And her latest book out is Cold Truth, which has only recently come out. Was
Hmm.
it just a few weeks ago?
Just a few weeks ago. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm. Do you want to start off by telling us a bit about Cold Truth?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Cold Truth is a psychological thriller, a little bit more action than Dark Mode. It is set in Winnipeg during a minus 30-degree winter. The winter that I decided to leave Winnipeg, it was actually minus 40 degrees for 3 months. So, minus 30 isn't even that cold. It is about a Winnipeg City tour guide named Harlow Close, whose father goes missing abruptly under very suspicious circumstances. So Harlow contacts the police, but they're not prioritizing his case. So she
Mm.
drags her reluctant sister Blaze into an investigation, unaware that someone has gone on the dark web to stop her interfering permanently.
And I have to say, I just finished reading Cold Truth and really loved the guessing and the twists and turns.
Ah,
And the dark web, it's probably something I don't know or haven't read too much about. What interested you in that?
I find the dark web so fascinating. So basically, a little while ago, when I was writing Dark Mode, I lost my driver's license, and through a series of online things, I discovered that the most likely thing that had happened to it was that it had ended up for sale on the dark web. Basically, my identity
Mm,
details were for sale because I was getting all these visits from China, Russia, Ukraine to the back end of my
mm,
author website. And at first, I was like, what is going on here? Why
mm,
are all these people visiting my website? But what I realized is, your driver's license doesn't have all of your information.
mm.
So these hackers were coming to my website to try and find if they could get, my phone number or maybe my email address, things like that, because they can sell my information for more money if they have more
Mm.
details.
So, do you think there is someone using your identity somewhere?
I mean, I hope not, but I know
Mm,
100% for sure it is for sale. And the only thing that kind of lets me sleep at night about that is that I know there are literally millions of other people's details who are for sale
mm,
on the dark web as well.
mm.
And that's actually, losing your ID is one way that can happen. But the much, much, much more common way is through data breaches and data hacks. And
Yeah, and you hear about that a lot now, don't
oh,
you? Yeah.
all of us, I think all of us at this point have
Mm,
probably been caught up in it, at least one of the big ones, right? So
yeah.
I got interested in the dark web because this is just such a modern phenomenon. And we really, I think there's so much we don't know, and there's so much that's going on. Uh, Cybercrime is projected to suck $10.5 trillion out of the world economy
Wow.
this year. And if
Yeah.
that was a nation, that would be the world's third largest
Mm,
GDP.
really? Wow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty amazing.
So
Mm.
I don't know if you saw my last author post, but I actually posted some screenshots from when I went
Yeah,
on the
I did
dark web.
see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
Did you read the one all the hacker, like the services they were selling?
yeah. Yeah, I saw. So, what would you say is the most godsmacked the thing that you found when you were looking on the dark web?
Oh yeah, so there's a screenshot on there. If you haven't seen this author post, there's a screenshot. There's like one that's like cocaine,
Mm,
one that's guns, one that's U.S. citizenship.
yeah.
Get a U.S. passport.
Mm,
But then one of them is a hacker selling a list of services, And one of those services, I don't know if it's that screenshot, but it was on the same website. It was destroy someone's life for $1,700 US in Bitcoin. And you could just click add to cart beside that item.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it surely is. And I'd like to talk to you about cold weather.
Yes.
I know I asked you some questions that we actually put in our newsletter, and I can't remember exactly what you said, but something about how some people think -30 is the same as -20 or -10 or something like that. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I had someone say to me, "Oh, you've done such a good job in Cold Truth of describing the cold for someone who's never experienced it." And I said, "Well, yeah, because I've been living in Australia for 14 years and describing the cold. So, like, everyone who asks, like, oh, why did you move to Australia? Like, well, because it's -40 in Winnipeg." So I have had multiple people say to me, "Oh, like, once it's cold, isn't it just all the same?" And it's like, well, no, there's a big difference between, say, +30 and +50. And it's the same when you go into the minus. As those degrees drop, the impact on your body is that much more extreme.
And just want to say as well, we've got a few people watching now, which is good. It's good everyone's found us again. If you've got any questions for Ashley, please type them in comments and I can read them out. I have to say, the first time I met you or became aware of you was with your book, now I've forgotten what the title
memoir,
is,
How to Be Australian.
Yeah, How to Be Australian. Is that the?
Yeah, yes, that's the one. Actually, I have it. Let me grab it.
And I totally loved it. And even being like, you're a Canadian living in Australia, I'm a New Zealander living in Australia, and I could relate to so many things you said in there.
That's so wonderful. I love that, Jackie. That's fantastic. And I wrote this book. Obviously, it's great for migrants, fellow migrants, visitors. But I actually wrote this book for Australians to kind of like hold up a mirror to Australia and be like, "Are you guys seeing this? Like, do you know how crazy this place is?" And it's really wonderful when Australians tell me, they're like, "I didn't expect to learn so much about my own country from your book, but I learned all this stuff I didn't know."
And like, it's been a few years since you wrote that. Is there anything that you've learned more about Australians that you would have liked to have put in that book?
Oh, that's a great question. Definitely yes, because I learn all the time. I learn new stuff, and I just think, oh, that would have been really good to put in the book. Can I think of one right now, though? I've traveled to more parts of Australia, which has been wonderful, and I'm seeing more of like small town Australia. And actually, this year, as research for one of my next books, I'm going to the outback to do some outback survival training, which I'm very excited about.
No, that sounds really exciting. What can you tell about us about what you're writing at the moment?
Okay, well, my next book that is coming out as an Audible original in June and then in print in the new year, next year, it is called Like, Follow, Die. And it is set back here in Sydney. So it's set in Sydney's east, like kind of on the cliffs along up near Watson's Bay. And it is about a cop who goes and knocks on a woman's door. And he is there to speak to her about her son and something her son did. And she has to make the decision of what she is going to tell this cop. So I'm really excited about that one.
Yeah, that sounds exciting.
Thank you. Yeah. And then the next one after that is going to be set in the outback.
Oh, okay. So that's the next one. Yeah. No, sounds very exciting. So sounds like you're very prepared for your next few books. Are you someone who has a big long list of ideas for future books?
Oh, yeah. Right now, I've got a whole bunch of ideas I'm really, really excited about. Yeah. Well, especially because my niche with thrillers is cybercrime. Like, there's just, like I said, there's so much cybercrime. So there's all these different angles that I'm like, oh, I want to explore that thing, and I want to explore that thing, and I want people to know more about this terrible thing that's happening.
And do you find it hard though to concentrate on the one that you should be concentrating on?
I think having a deadline is very helpful for that. So because because I know I'm like, I've got this deadline. I've just got to get this done. So that's good. But there's always, I'll learn about something. Like the other day, I learned about this poor guy who, older guy, had never traveled anywhere, from small town USA, and had worked his whole life as a truck driver. And he got an email that was like basically one of those scam emails that was like, you've got a $10.5 million inheritance. And he didn't know it was a scam. And the whole scam was, you pay us money and then we give you your inheritance. And he had no money. He was like, I'm broke. I can't afford this. Anyway, he ended up in prison in Mozambique because they were like, oh, well, we'll give you an all expenses paid trip to Mozambique and you can come here and do the paperwork.
Oh, wow.
And then when he got there, they pretended this was all legitimate. And then they gave him this candy to take, and it was heroin. And he got caught. Yeah, and he's in prison for the rest of his life. And I'm just like, how does this happen to people?
Yeah, wow.
Oh, so yeah, there's always stories that I think,
that sounds like a good base for a book.
Right. And but also then, because if you read that book, you could then talk to people in your life about this. So maybe that, someone would not end up in prison in Mozambique.
Yeah. Yeah, and is that what you think about writing about these things that you may or have you heard of anyone that has, like, you've brought it to their attention and that it's really alerted people that didn't know about it?
It was interesting because with dark mode is partly about men's rights activists and incels and some of the crime that happens around incel spaces. And even just going to events, I would ask, how many people have heard of incels? And at some groups, it was as few as 10% of people who said that they knew about this before reading dark mode. So I think there's just so many different types of crime now that it's, if you're not someone who's actively interested in that space, you won't know about it.
Yeah. And we've got some questions coming in, so that's really good. Firstly, Kim says the outback will be such a change from Winnipeg.
Yes.
And Sina says, how does having sorry, something's popped up on my screen.
No,
that's so good. Sina says, how does having having experiences of living with various countries affect your writing? Or does living in different countries contribute to your writing or perspective in any way? That's a really good question, Sina.
That's a lovely question. Yeah, thank you for that. Well, I think living in different countries has made me more aware of just how many different ways there are of thinking about things, right? So like when I lived in South Korea and I taught in South Korea, the education system there is entirely different from the education in Canada, for example. And then also I had the privilege of working with people, like that was the first place I ever met people from New Zealand, for example. And I worked with people from the UK and all over the world. So I definitely think you get a broader perspective on just everything that's out there. And I'm sure that funnels into my writing. And even in dark mode, I had the characters, I gave them some backstory where they had actually, these two friends, the main characters, had met in South Korea teaching English like I did. So I do incorporate those life experiences into my writing.
And could you tell us what you hope readers will love about your books?
Oh, okay. So I'm a big crime fiction fan myself, and I love a book with really great twists. I love a book that, keeps me reading, that like, I'm like, oh, I should go to bed, but I'm just going to read one more chapter. Like, I love that feeling. And so that's what I want to create for readers. So when a reader tells me, they stayed up way past their bedtime, I'm like, I've done my job. That is my job, and I've done it.
And what have you been reading lately that you might want to recommend to us?
Oh, excellent question. I have been reading. What have I been reading? I read Night Watching by Tracy Sierra. Have you read that?
No, I haven't read that.
Oh, it's a crime thriller. And it's the first line is, there was someone in the house. And just from there, it's just like you're right in it. You're right in the story. It's a debut and it's excellent. I have a big stack of books right here beside me, of course. I started reading Bat Eater by
Okay.
Kylie Lee Baker, which is a horror novel kind of set during the pandemic, and it's creepy and wonderful. And I have, of course, I have this Outback Survival Guide.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm reading this, The Private Island by Ali Lowe, which was just launched.
Yeah, I can't wait to read that one.
It's fantastic. So immersive, like really gripping, great characters. I mean, it's Ali Lowe, so she's amazing.
No, thanks for those recommendations. We always need lots more recommendations so that we can buy lots more books. I was just saying to you how I've worked really close to the big Dimmicks in George Street and been buying lots more books than what I normally buy, which
wonderful
is a lot. And growing up, had you always wanted to be a writer?
Yes, I was one of those kids who, I loved reading. I loved books. When I was 7 years old, so I was in grade 1, I was living in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, which has the same terrible climate as Winnipeg. And I wrote some little short story. It was like one paragraph, right, grade 1, called The Wizard Who Had a Cat. I'm sure it was wildly plagiarized from some other kid's book that I read. And then it was published in the school district anthology for the year.
Oh, really? Wow.
And it was in there with the grade 12 kids writing. So I was like, clearly I am an author. Like I am a published author now. And I think actually that was really bad for me because it gave me a lot of ego. So I, in my 20s, I thought I really knew what I was doing as a writer, and I absolutely did not. And so then I had to do a lot of learning. It took me 4 unpublished manuscripts before my first book came out in 2019.
Wow. And what made you keep going?
I guess I really just love writing.
Yeah.
And also the other thing, I met some amazing people. I met some really, really wonderful people. And I always say this about readers and writers. They're just the best people. And I'm actually quite shy. I'm actually, fairly introverted, like a lot of readers are. But I can go to an event with other readers and just talk to anybody and have a great time.
Yeah. I can relate to that a lot. Yeah. And you've got a lot of events coming up.
Yes.
Do you want to maybe tell us a little bit about some of them?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, on Tuesday, the 4th of March, I'm doing an event with Ali Lowe and Burr Carroll and Laura McCluskey, who wrote The Wolf Tree. That's why I think her name is Laura Wolf. I'm just gonna tell her that. So we're doing a Dimmicks Sydney panel in Surrey Hills. On the 6th of March, I'm doing a event here in St. Ives on the Sydney North Shore with Petronelle McGovern, who's also a global girls author. I'm doing an event on the Central Coast with Anna Downs. That's the 25th of March. I'm doing my first ever Canberra event at Big River Distillery on the 20th of March.
Yeah, that one looks exciting.
They have a signature cocktail for every book that they do. And so for mine, you'd think we would need hot chocolate, but we're going to flip it. We're going to do chocolate martini.
I wish I could come for that one.
Oh, yeah, it'd be great to have you there.
And Sana says she's loving your energy.
Thank you.
What about where you like to write? Have you got a favorite place to write?
Well, we're actually in my office right now. So this is my little office. You can see my reading chair here. I love your bookshelf
behind you.
Thank you. Yeah, my bookshelf, my fairy lights. And so I'm at my desk. So this is it. This is where I am, 7 days a week, basically. If I'm not at an event and I'm not sick in bed because I have a chronic illness, I am here at my desk.
And what about snacks or drinks while you're writing?
Dark chocolate. Always dark chocolate. Yeah.
That's my
and I have a
favorite
tea. I have a favorite tea, which is a chili tea.
Okay.
And it's just got that nice bit of like sweet spiciness.
Yeah. No, that sounds great. Well, thanks for joining me. It's been great talking to you, and it was great having you as author for the day today. And also, it's been great that you've joined us this year as an associate author. I look forward to seeing you more and hopefully maybe meeting you in person, hopefully this year maybe.
That'd be fantastic, Jackie. I'd love that.
And thanks to everyone who joined in. We had some great questions.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Cheers.